This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, we begin with a diplomatic standoff at the United Nations as the war in Ukraine nears its fourth year. The General Assembly passed a ceasefire resolution, but the United States abstained. The move exposes growing friction with Kyiv over the war's future. While tensions simmer at the UN, high-stakes negotiations are underway in Switzerland. Iran's foreign minister arrived in Geneva for indirect talks with the US. The meeting follows President Trump's demand for a permanent end to Tehran's nuclear program. Beyond the Middle East, a key European leader is refining relations with Asia. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz met President Xi Jinping in Beijing. The talks focused on expanding economic ties and navigating trade pressures. From global diplomacy to grassroots innovation, citizens in Cuba are rewiring their own future. Amid a total power collapse, a retiree turned his home into a renewable energy hub. The project is now inspiring locals during the fuel crisis. Back home, the world war between the nation's top two leaders has escalated again. Vice President Sara Duterte called the administration in disarray. Malacanang fired back, questioning her credibility. Meanwhile, legal counsel for former President Duterte is challenging the ICC case. Lawyers cited inconsistent death toll data and a lack of direct evidence. The defense argues the case rests on weak claims. And finally, the future of flight is on display in South Korea. Drone companies unveiled major advances at the DSK Expo in Busan. The showcase highlights rapid gains in autonomous technology. I'm Carlo de la Peña. Newsline World starts now. Foreign news: Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has touched down in Geneva for a third round of indirect negotiations with the United States. The arrival follows a stark warning from President Donald Trump, who also demanded a permanent end to Tehran's nuclear program amid accusations of secret weapons rebuilding. Almar Forzuelo has the latest.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was greeted by diplomats in Geneva on Wednesday, preparing for high-stakes talks with the U.S. delegation that includes Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The diplomatic push comes at a moment of extreme tension. During his State of the Union address on Tuesday, President Trump warned that Iranian missiles could already threaten Europe and U.S. bases. He remains firm that no deal will be signed without a clear public commitment that Iran will never possess a nuclear weapon. Vice President J.D. Vance confirmed Wednesday that Washington has seen evidence of Tehran attempting to reconstruct facilities targeted by U.S. strikes last June.
But the principle is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they try to rebuild a nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us. And in fact, we've seen evidence that they have tried to do exactly that. So the president sending those negotiators to try to address that problem, as the president has said.
While the White House maintains a preference for a diplomatic resolution, Vance has stressed that other options remain on the table should the Geneva talks fail to produce results. Tehran, meanwhile, continues to insist its program is strictly for peaceful energy purposes. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
In his first official visit to China since taking office, German Chancellor Merz held talks with President Xi Jinping, focusing on deepening bilateral relations and advancing strategic economic partnerships. This report. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing on Wednesday, highlighting efforts to strengthen bilateral relations and address economic and global challenges amid shifting international dynamics. The visit marks Merz's first official trip to China since taking office, a significant moment for relations between Europe's largest economy and Asia's dominant power. At the Zhao Yutai State Guest House, Both leaders emphasized the importance of building on decades of economic cooperation despite trade imbalances and geopolitical pressures. Xi called for Germany and China to act as reliable and innovative partners, stressing strategic communication and trust in an unpredictable global landscape. Merz described the meeting as a great opportunity for deeper ties, while raising concerns about Germany's growing trade deficit and advocating for fair competition and market access for European businesses. Both leaders reaffirmed the value of free trade and mutual respect in economic relations. The talks covered trade distortions, supply chain resilience, and broader global challenges. Agreements were signed on areas such as climate cooperation and food security, and announcements included potential deals like Chinese orders for Airbus aircraft, reflecting ongoing economic engagement and efforts to balance cooperation with equitable competition. In a stunning political development, Venezuela National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez announced on Wednesday the unexpected resignations of the nation's top two judicial officials. Prince Tripoli has the latest.
A sudden resignation from top judicial officials shocked Venezuela's National Assembly. The announcement came during a session where President Jorge Rodriguez confirmed he had received formal resignation letters from both Attorney General Tariq William Saab and Ombudsman Alfredo Ruiz Angulo. The departures of Attorney General Tariq William Saab and Ombudsman Alfredo Ruiz Angulo have triggered an immediate shake-up in the attorney-citizen power branch. The move is particularly unexpected, given that both men were ratified for new 7-year terms just 4 months ago in October 2024. No official reason was provided for their sudden departure, and neither official has issued a public statement.
Sendas misivas dirigidas por el fiscal general de la República, Dr. Tarek William Saab, y por el defensor del pueblo, Dr. Alfredo José Ruiz Angulo, en donde expresan su decisión de renunciar al cargo respectivo como fiscal general de la República y como defensor del pueblo de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela. Vamos a proceder a escoger a una encargada o un encargado para ambos cargos mientras se activa el comité de postulación.
Due to the absence of a deputy attorney general, the legislature moved quickly to fill the vacuum, appointing human rights lawyer Larry Daniel Devo as acting attorney general. The National Assembly is now tasked with forming a nominations committee to begin the constitutional process of selecting permanent replacements. The resignations come at a time of high political sensitivity in Venezuela, as the government continues to manage the transition following the arrest of President Nicolas Maduro earlier this year. Reporting for Newsline World, Prince Tripoli, SMNI News.
Peru's interim president has officially installed his ministerial team, tapping a former economic minister as prime minister. The new cabinet faces the critical task of stabilizing the nation following the ouster of Jose Heri and ensuring a smooth path to upcoming April general elections. Carla Abellana has the news.
A new leadership team took the oath of office of the government palace in Lima on Tuesday, marking another chapter in Peru's turbulent political landscape. Interim President Jose Maria Balcazar appointed Dennis Miralles as the president of the Council of Ministers. Miralles, an economic engineer who served as economy minister under the previous administration, replaces Ernesto Alvarez Miranda. Her appointment is seen as a strategic move to provide continuity in fiscal policy during this transition period. The new cabinet includes key figures such as career diplomat Hugo de Zala as foreign minister and Hugo Alberto Begazo de Bedoya as ministers of the interior. Luis Enrique Arroyo Sanchez has been tasked with leading the Ministry of Defense. Balcazar, who assumed the presidency just last week following the express impeachment of Jose Jerry, stated that the group combines renewal and experience. The primary objectives are a frontal fight against organized crime and maintaining economic stability. The stakes are high as the nation prepares for the April 12th general elections. Over 27 million Peruvians are expected to head to the polls to elect a new president. For the first time in decades, a bicameral legislature consisting of 130 deputies and 60 senators, with a record-breaking 36 presidential candidates currently in the race. The transitional government's role as a neutral arbiter will be under intense scrutiny as it attempts to break the cycle of instability that has seen 8 presidents lead the country since 2016. Reporting for Newsline World, Carla Abellana, SMNI News.
Up next, the world war between the Philippines' top 2 leaders has escalated again. Vice President Sara Duterte called the administration in disarray. Malacanang fired back, questioning her credibility. And meanwhile, legal counsel for former President Duterte is challenging the ICC case. Lawyers cited inconsistent death toll data and a lack of direct evidence. The defense argues the case rests on weak claims. Newsline World will be back for more news.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubhang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado, 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/3 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon. Ayon sa schedule ng pasyente, ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Lousy script and not award-winning. This was Malacanang's strong response to allegations that cash reportedly amounting to over 805 billion pesos was delivered in suitcases to top government officials, including the Philippine president. Ina Mortel reports.
Paulit-ulit na kasinungalingan laban sa Pangulo. Palace press officer Undersecretary Claire Castro directly responded to accusations leveled against President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. The response followed a media briefing by so-called 18 former security personnel of former Congressman Saldico. Their legal counsel, Attorney Levi Baligod, alleged the group acted as bagmen in transferring the alleged 805 billion pesos from anomalous flood control projects. According to the group, former Speaker Martin Romualdez and his colleagues would not act without the President's approval. Each suitcase reportedly contained 48 to 50 million pesos and was delivered to properties linked to the President in Forbes Park, Ilocos Norte, and Aguado Street near Malacanang. For the palace, however, the claims are entirely fabricated.
Paulit-ulit na kasinungalingan laban sa Pangulo. Lousy script. Hindi pang award-winning. Hindi malinis. Alam mo na may kasinungalingan. So, sino ba ang nasa likod nito? Siguro dapat malaman nyo kung sino ba yung may-ari ng sasakyan na siyang sumundo sa kanila matapos ang press briefing or press con nila. So, paulit-ulit na kasinungalingan.
The palace also questioned the credibility of the witnesses and the motives of those behind the press conference. Castro emphasized that it is the obligation of law enforcement agencies to file cases against those spreading fake news without waiting for directives from the Office of the President.
Nandiyan ang NBI, nandiyan ang PNP. Dapat malaman nila to, obligasyon nila na kasuhan ang mga nagpapakalat ng fake news. Dapat pa ba silang utusan? Hindi po. Obligasyon ng NBI, PNP, DOJ.
At present, the public is waiting to see if the National Bureau of Investigation and the Philippine National Police will conduct a formal investigation into the individuals involved. Meanwhile, Senator Amy Marcos has filed a resolution to initiate a formal Senate hearing on these allegations. For God in my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Ina Mortel, SMNI News.
Senate President Tito Soto gave a comment regarding the allegation of 18 ex-Marines claiming that he receives kickbacks from flood control projects. Sheena Torno reports.
I will not dignify a tall story allegation.
This was the response of Senate President Tito Soto III after he was named in a joint affidavit of former military personnel as one of the officials who allegedly received cash deliveries. Soto was allegedly among those who were delivered suitcase containing cash, which they referred to as garbage, supposedly from flood control kickbacks. SP Soto insisted that he will no longer dignify what he described as fabricated allegations against him. The senator even gave a joking remark.
Nakakatawa ron, baka hanapin sa akin ng kasama ko yung 5 maleta.
On Tuesday, 18 ex-Marines who allegedly served as a security personnel under former Ako Bicol Party list Congressman Zaldico surfaced publicly. They claimed that part of their job was to deliver money to several politicians and personalities. Aside from Soto, those allegedly identified as having received suitcase containing cash include Senator Erwin Tulfo, Senator Cheese Escudero, Senator Mark Villar, and former Senator Bong Revilla. Also named as having allegedly received kickbacks were President Bongbong Marcos and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Malacanang denied the accusation against the president and described it as a lousy script. According to the Philippine Navy, 4 of the 18 individuals who identified themselves as Marines were never part of the military, while others were dishonorably discharged or removed from service. Meanwhile, the incumbent and former senators mentioned have yet to issue statements regarding the allegations made by the former associates of Zaldico. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
The Filipino lawyers of former President Rodrigo Duterte questioned the lack of evidence and the inconsistent death toll in the war on drugs used in the International Criminal Court case. MJ Mondeja reports.
The Filipino legal team of former President Rodrigo Duterte dismissed the prosecution's presentation of evidence against the former leader. At the height of the confirmation of charges hearing for the Crimes Against Humanity case, the all-Filipino legal team criticized the inconsistent statements of the accusers.
Bigyan nyo kami ng laman para makita namin ano itong pinagsasabi. Kasi isa sa tatlong patay, 4, naging 47, naging 5,000, naging 17,000. Where are we? And they're saying it's a crime against humanity.
Attorney Salvador Medialdea, who served as Duterte's executive secretary, asserted that the opposing side seemingly fails to understand the definition of crimes against humanity. This is especially noted given the fluctuating victim count in the war on drugs. The camp also questioned the source of the prosecution's data regarding casualties in the Duterte-led anti-drug campaign.
Have you watched yung mga criminal cases ng araw during the times of war? Ano yung crime against humanity? Hundreds of thousands being killed.
The camp also criticized the cherry-picking of Duterte's past public pronouncements regarding the anti-drug campaign to favor the prosecution's argument without providing the full context of the statements.
Tinatapos ba nila yung words ng dating presidente? Patayin natin, pero tapos you go. Do not go beyond the law. Otherwise, you're worse than criminality. Basahin nyo lahat yung mga pinagsasabi. Sinusuppress nila yung nasa loob eh.
The all-Filipino legal team of former President Duterte will continue to monitor the progress of the confirmation of charges hearing. Meanwhile, they called for support and prayers for the former president, who is reportedly weakening due to his condition inside the ICC detention facility. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
President or Vice President Sara Duterte criticized the Marcos administration for an alleged lack of direction, describing governance as in disarray. Malacanang responded by questioning her credibility as a former secretary of the Department of Education. This report from Ina Mortel.
Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro challenged Vice President Sara Duterte, questioning her authority to criticize the performance of cabinet officials under the Marcos administration. Castro said that if anyone failed to deliver despite the trust given by the president, it was the Vice President herself during her time leading the Department of Education.
Let us look who's talking. Mukhang tumama naman po siya dahil siya naitalaga siya ng Pangulo, pinagtiwalaan siya ng Pangulo, pero sa bandang huli, aamin pala ang Vice Presidente na siya ay walang kaalam-alam sa pagiging DepEd Secretary. So totoo po yan.
Castro also urged the Vice President to address unresolved issues in the department, including alleged ghost projects, instead of blaming the President.
Dun pa lamang po sa mga ghost students, ghost vouchers, ghost food packs, ghost laptops. Lahat ng multong ito ng Vice Presidente, nung siya ay DepEd Secretary, huwag niyang ipahid kay Pangulo.
The palace statements came in response to VP Sara's earlier remarks in which she expressed disappointment with Malacanang's leadership system. The Vice President said governance is in disarray due to the lack of clear vision and oversight, forcing departments like the DepEd to rely on their own strategies to serve the public.
Kaya nakikita nyo na parang kalat yung governance ngayon kasi ganun din yung ibang departments. Buti sana kung magaling lahat ng secretaries. Alam niya kaagad na, okay, sige, kailangan natin ng vision.
VP Sara emphasized that her criticism stems from her desire for a faster and more effective government, something she said she did not experience while in the cabinet.
Walang nag-uutos sa iyo na presidente at walang nagbabantay sa iyo na presidente. So yun yung na-disappoint ako ba? Na kasi akala ko, mabilis, tuloy-tuloy yung trabaho. Tapos sasabihin mo sa mga tao, ito nagawa na natin, ito gagawin natin sunod. Mga ganon. Walang ganon na nangyari.
For now, the public awaits VP Sara's response to the palace's latest statements. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Ina Mortel, SMNI News.
The Senate is set to tighten restrictions on relatives of government officials participating in state contracts. Senator Chis Escudero will spearhead the review of the proposed measure aimed at promoting more honest public service. Angel Pastor reports.
Senator Francis Chis Escudero has been designated as chairperson of a newly created subcommittee that will hear a bill prohibiting relatives of government officials from securing government contracts. The Senate approved his designation during Monday's plenary session after Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri announced that it was requested by Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, chair of the Committee on Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation. Senate Bill number 783 has been referred to Escudero's subcommittee as part of efforts to strengthen transparency and accountability in public procurement. The proposed measure will also bar government officials and their relatives up to the 4th degree of consanguinity or affinity from participating in government contracts. Senators Bongo and Joel Villanueva are co-authors of the bill. According to Escudero, it is time to close procurement system loopholes that pave the way for corruption and undue influence. The senator assured that the hearings will be transparent and that all sides will be heard to ensure a clean outcome. The creation of the subcommittee forms part of the Senate's broader focus on anti-corruption measures and efforts to eliminate undue influence in government transactions. Discussions on the bill are expected to move forward in the coming hearings. For God and my beloved Philippines, Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
3 more luxury vehicles linked to contractor couple Sara and Pacifico Discaya were sold in a public auction conducted by the Bureau of Customs, generating more than 25 million pesos for the government. Aaron Rojas reports.
Of the 12 vehicles auctioned by the Bureau of Customs on Wednesday, 7 were previously linked to the Discaya couple in connection with an allegedly anomalous project. The 2024 Lincoln Navigator was acquired by Cantineta Espresso Concepts for 6.95 million pesos. The 2022 Bentley Bentayga, offered 3 times before finally getting a buyer, was purchased by TDY Consumer Goods Trading for more than 12.1 million pesos. Meanwhile, the 2022 Cadillac Escalade ESV was bought by Igorot Stone Kingdom for 6.6 million pesos. Due to the difficulty in selling some units, the Bureau of Customs is now studying a policy to limit auction attempts to 3 before resorting to direct offers for vehicles with low bidder interest.
Siguro that's the trend that we'll have to study kung ano ang magiging movement natin moving forward. Do we go dun sa 3 auction threshold before we entertain direct offers? Kasi parang yun ang nagiging motivation ng bidders no, na kapag third auction na, substantially reduced na yung price, nagpa-participate sila.
In total, the auction generated 25,771,374 pesos, which according to the BOC, will immediately be remitted to the National Treasury. 9 luxury vehicles will be re-auctioned after failing to attract bidders, while the 2 Bugatti units linked to the Discayas may be offered through direct sale to prevent further depreciation.
Yung dalawang Bugatti, the committee is strongly considering na yung direct offer, no? That has been the 4th or 5th time na sinubject to auction tapos walang nag-participate. Ayaw na natin siyang patagalin in the sense na yan, exposed sa elements, lalong bumababa ang presyo niya because of depreciation.
For Igorot Stone Kingdom, joining the auction was not just about acquiring a luxury vehicle. According to its representative, Pio Velasco, the purchase symbolizes the return of alleged ill-gotten wealth to the people, and the vehicle will be part of a car museum to attract more tourists.
Kaya sabi, pag merong Rolls-Royce, meron ding Cadillac kasi mga status symbol yung mga sasakyan na yan eh.
Velasco added that this may not be their last time to participate in a customs auction. He also said the vehicles will be displayed to serve as a reminder to the public about the importance of working honestly and responsibly.
Nais ng mga bagong may-ari na agad na maiuwi ang mga sasakyan. Ngunit ayon sa Bureau of Customs, kailangan munang ayusin ang mga papeles bago ito mai-release.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, Aaron Rojas, SMNI News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has directed concerned government agencies to immediately address congestion in major ports in Metro Manila. Creselyn Catarong reports.
Malacanang assured that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is personally monitoring issues related to port congestion, particularly at the Manila South Harbor and the Manila International Container Terminal. According to Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro, the President has directly spoken with officials of the Bureau of Customs to determine the actual situation in the ports. Based on the agency's report, container congestion is usually experienced during weekends, but operations return to normal flow on weekdays. The BOC reported that as of February 19, yard utilization levels in various major ports across the country remain below 90%.
Sa Port of Manila, nasa 79.80%. Manila International Container Port, nasa 84.45%. Ilang major ports kabilang ang Batangas ay nasa 49.60%, Subic 60%, Cebu 33%, at Davao na nasa hanggang 68.34% lang.
The BOC emphasized that there is currently no immediate threat of disruption in container movement, and utilization rates continue to decline. Among the measures being implemented by the agency are strengthened coordination and earlier information gathering from stakeholders. The implementation of Customs Administrative Order on the accreditation of container yards is also underway, along with regular quarterly meetings with international shipping lines and other port stakeholders to prepare for months when cargo volume is typically high.
Suportado rin ng BOC ang infrastructure readiness initiatives, particular na ang investments sa mga karagdagang reefer facilities at complementary policy issuances.
Meanwhile, the BOC's crisis management protocol remain active should utilization rates reach critical levels. Malacanang added that the President is updated on the situation and expects concerned agencies to respond swiftly to any issues related to port congestion. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Cresceline Catarong, SMNI News.
When we return, a diplomatic standoff at the United Nations as the war in Ukraine nears its fourth year. The General Assembly passed a ceasefire resolution, but the United States abstained. The move exposes growing friction with Kyiv over the war's future. And the future of flight is on display in South Korea. Drone companies unveiled major advances at the DSK Expo in Busan. The showcase highlights rapid gains in autonomous technology. We'll be back after this break.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan. Walang kaharap, walang accountability. Kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa.
nila. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito, pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulung at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, saka palalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
The UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution on the Ukraine crisis, calling for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire and comprehensive, just, and lasting peace. However, the United States abstained, exposing fresh tensions between Washington and Kyiv on the 4th anniversary of the war in Russia. The resolution, adopted with 107 votes in favor, 12 against, and 51 abstentions, reaffirmed Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders. But the United States declined to support the final text after its proposed amendments failed to pass. Speaking before the vote, U.S. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said Washington supported calls for an immediate ceasefire, but warned that certain language in the resolution could distract from ongoing negotiations. Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister Mariana Betsa countered that weakening the wording would send what she described as a very dangerous signal. The vote at the UN General Assembly comes ahead of high-level talks between U.S. and Ukrainian officials in Geneva this week, following recent trilateral discussions involving Russia. Washington has repeatedly urged Kyiv to consider territorial concessions as part of a broader settlement, a move Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has so far rejected. As Cuba grapples with its most severe energy crisis in recent history, local citizens are taking matters into their own hands. In the municipality of Regla, one retiree has transformed his home into a renewable energy hub, providing a blueprint for self-sustainability amid an island-wide power collapse. Jane Codnita has the story.
On a rooftop in Havana, 84-year-old Felix Morphy walks across an array of 40 solar panels, a personal power plant he built to shield his family from the darkness. For Morphy, this was a hard-won victory. He acquired his first panels in New York, navigating a logistical headache that involved shipping them through the Dominican Republic to bypass trade barriers. Today, his system generates 10 kilowatts, powering everything from his workshop to his refrigerator and lights.
La gente está más motivada, primera por los apagones y segunda por la escasez de energía en el país, de día y de noche. Entonces eso ha ido incentivando a las personas a montar paneles solares, aerogeneradores, molinos de viento. O sea, la gente está montando cosas. Anteriormente, lo que se está haciendo ahora, nosotros no estuviéramos sufriendo los apagones. Porque los parques fotovoltaicos había que haberlo empezado hace 10 años atrás.
Morphy's home has now become the headquarters for the NGO Cuba Solar in Regla. Known as a polygon school, the property showcases a mix of solar and wind energy, serving as a training ground for neighbors eager to flee the grid. Cuba's energy sector has been decimated by a tightened U.S. oil embargo, which has scared off international suppliers and left the island's aging thermoelectric plants without fuel. With the government struggling to maintain even basic service, the demand for private renewable solutions is skyrocketing.
la motivación nuestra es esa, enseñar a los demás para que sean también autosustentables. Y comenzando con la fuente de nueva energía, que casi todo el mundo, a lo que está buscando ahora, huyéndole, que son a los apagones, está empezando con la batería, los paneles solares, pero bueno, demostramos siempre que era posible. Tratamos de hacerlo llegar al gobierno, a varias amistades, en los talleres que se hacen.
While the Cuban government has recently pivoted toward larger-scale solar projects, residents like Murphy argued the shift came a decade too late. As the U.S. continues to threaten sanctions on oil shipments, these independent energy islands may soon become the only reliable source of power for thousands across the country. This has been Jane Codniter, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
West African leaders have agreed to deploy an initial 1,650 troops as part of a new regional force aimed at fighting terrorism and preventing coups. The decision was made during a meeting in Freetown by defense chiefs from the Economic Community of West African States, also known as ECOWAS. Officials say the full force could eventually include 5,000 troops. For now, they will begin with 1,650 personnel who can be deployed quickly if needed. The goal is to respond faster to extremist attacks and protect elected governments from being overthrown. An ECOWAS commissioner was also raised concerns about the political situation in Guinea-Bissau, saying any constitutional change in leadership goes against the region's shared values. Leaders discussed how to fund, equip, and organize the force so it can move quickly during emergencies. The move comes as West African countries faced growing security problems, especially after international forces began leaving parts of the Sahel region. Drone companies from across Asia and beyond are displaying their latest innovations at Busan's DSK exhibition, drawing attention for breakthroughs in flight time, positioning, and industrial applications. Joy Tabanao tells us more.
Asia's largest drone exhibition is showcasing the latest in aerial technology, attracting innovators, developers, and visitors from around the world eager to explore cutting-edge systems. Visitors at the Drone and Sky Korea or DSK exhibition are getting a first-hand look at new applications and advanced drone systems.
It's my first time at DSK. So far, some really interesting companies, and we're here to discover the market. So we've had some really interesting conversations so far. Really good to see the different systems outside of Europe.
Exhibitors are also highlighting breakthroughs in drone technology.
저희는 이제 PP솔이라는 수신기 업체고요. GPS 수신기 업체고 저는 이제 앱 개발을 담당하고 있습니다. 저희가 수신기가 GPS 수신기를 하다 보니까 아무래도 정밀좌표를 받는 데서 많이 사용하고 있고요. 드론이나 이런 데 탑재해서 사용하는 그런 수신기 업체라고 보시면 됩니다.
This is our second time to the DSK, and for this year we think it is totally update compared with the last year, and we think the exhibitor is more poor, and our battery has updated too. So we are major for the industrial battery for the drone, and our major is to promote the flight time of every drone company. So, and for now, we have more than 1,700 customers in China, and now we are a new guy for the global market.
The exhibition continues to be a hub for networking, innovation, and collaboration, highlighting the rapid evolution of the drone industry and the growing demand for advanced solutions worldwide. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
New Jeans creator Min Hee-jin proposed ending all civil and criminal litigation with HYBE, offering to forego the 25.6 billion won or $17.9 million she's owed after a recent court win. Meanwhile, Bella Hadid revealed that battling Lyme disease forced her to turn down nearly all modeling work for a year, reshaping how she views her worth and project choices. Faith Agustino's All the Buzz.
Min Hee-jin, former head of Adore and the creative force behind the girl group New Jeans, has offered to end all ongoing civil and criminal litigation with HYBE, aiming to bring a long-running dispute to a close. In her proposal, Min suggested she would forgo the 25.6 billion won, or approximately $17.9 million put option payment she is set to receive following a recent court victory against HYBE. She framed the offer as an effort to resolve the protracted conflict amicably and move forward. HYBE has yet to respond to the proposal, and it remains unclear whether the company will accept the terms or continue pursuing legal action. The dispute between Min Hee-jin and HYBE has drawn significant attention in the K-pop industry, given her role in creating the hugely successful group New Jeans and the financial stakes involved. Observers note that a settlement could prevent further legal costs and public scrutiny for both sides, while allowing Min and HYBE to focus on future projects. Meanwhile, supermodel Bella Hadid revealed in a conversation with her sister Gigi Hadid that she had to turn down nearly all contracts for almost a year while undergoing intensive treatment for Lyme disease, a bacterial infection transmitted through tick bites that can cause fatigue, joint pain, and neurological issues. The condition often requires long-term treatment and can significantly impact daily functioning. Bella described feeling emotionally overwhelmed during her hiatus, sharing that the experience made her confront the fear of being replaceable once she was unavailable to work. She explained that the break forced her to re-evaluate a long-held belief that her worth depended on the number of campaigns and fashion shows she accepted. The model's candid reflections highlight the pressures of the fashion industry and the importance of prioritizing personal health and well-being, even in a highly competitive career. Bella's experience resonates with many who face the challenge of balancing professional demands with personal health, and she hopes her story encourages others to place their well-being first. This is Faith Agustin bringing you the latest showbuzz.
In NBA, Cleveland's James Harden is questionable for Wednesday night's game against Milwaukee after suffering a right thumb injury. Meanwhile, Real Madrid reached the Champions League last 16 with a 3-1 aggregate win over Benfica in a match model fielder Aurelien Tchouameni described as a victory for everyone who stands against racism. This report. Cleveland's James Harden sustained the injury during Tuesday's 109-94 victory over the New York Knicks. X-rays taken Wednesday revealed a non-displaced fracture of the distal phalanx in his right thumb. The 17-year-old veteran was evaluated by the Cavaliers medical staff and will continue to undergo treatment and monitoring ahead of the matchup with the Milwaukee Bucks. Harden was acquired from the Los Angeles Clippers on February 4th and has averaged 18.9 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 8 assists in 7 games with Cleveland. The Cavaliers, who hold a 37-22 record, have won 8 of their last 9 games and are currently tied for third place in the Eastern Conference. Meanwhile, the second leg in Madrid came amid heightened tension following allegations from Vinicius Jr. that he was racially abused by Benfica's Gianluca Prestiani during the first leg. Prestiani denied the accusation but was handed a one-match suspension, ruling him out of the return fixture. Ahead of kickoff, supporters displayed a "No to Racism" banner in solidarity with Vinicius. On the pitch, Real Madrid trailed 1-0 on the night but rallied to win 2-1, sealing a 3-1 aggregate victory. Aurelien Tchouameni scored the equalizer before Vinicius netted in the 80th minute to secure a qualification. Tchouameni said the result represented more than football, calling it a victory for everyone who stands against racism. Madrid were without Kylian Mbappe due to a knee injury. With the club hopeful the issue is not serious. And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Sun. future depends on when you are now, not your past. Forget your past, bury it, grow up, and move on. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Carlo de la Peña. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.